Headlines today are about quarterly earnings beats. The thing actually moving capital is one layer down, in the footnotes of the 10Ks that drop alongside the press release. Let's look at what the filings say. 3 structural patterns keep showing up this cycle, none of them in the headline numbers, all of them affecting cash flow visibility 3 to 5 years out. Lease tail risk. Equity dilution that hides in compensation. And purchase commitments that are not on the balance sheet, but absolutely are obligations. We'll walk through each and where to find it in a filing. Since ASC 842 took effect in 2019 for public filers, operating leases sit on the balance sheet as right-of-use assets and lease liabilities. What people skim is the maturity schedule disclosure, usually a small table inside the lease footnote that breaks remaining undiscounted lease payments by year, with a thereafter line. The thereafter line is the part to watch. A long thereafter tail means most of a company's real estate or equipment obligations come due in years 6 through 20, which is structurally different from a profile that's mostly weighted to the next 3. For retail tenants, restaurants, and warehouse-heavy logistics, the tail tells you how flexible management actually is if revenue softens. A short tail is optionality. A long tail is commitment. Equity compensation gets reported on the income statement as a non-cash expense, which means it does not affect adjusted EBITDA in the way most coverage focuses on. But it absolutely affects shareholders, because the shares granted dilute existing holders or have to be repurchased to neutralize the dilution. The pattern worth watching is when share-based compensation as a percentage of revenue stays flat or grows, even as the company scales. That is a sign that the business model depends on issuing equity to retain talent. The right question is not whether stock comp is high. It is whether it is growing faster than revenue per share. The information is in the cash flow statement reconciliation and in the equity awards footnote. It takes 10 minutes to compute. Most people skip it. Buried in the commitments and contingencies footnote, usually near the back of the 10K, is a line called purchase obligations or unconditional purchase commitments. These are contracts where the company has agreed to buy a fixed quantity of something: energy, semiconductor wafers, raw materials, sometimes cloud compute, over a multi-year period at predetermined prices. They are not on the balance sheet because, under current GAAP, they do not meet the definition of a liability until the goods are delivered. But they are obligations in every meaningful operational sense. For chip designers, cloud-heavy software firms, and energy-intensive manufacturers, the size of this commitment relative to current revenue is a leading indicator of how confident management is in demand. A growing purchase obligation in a softening macro is a structural mismatch waiting to show up in margins. This isn't advice, it's a way of looking. 3 places in any 10K where the structural information lives: lease maturity tails, share-based comp as a share of revenue, off-balance sheet purchase commitments. If the framing helps you read the next earnings call differently, that's the win. I'm Diane. Back next briefing.